Accessing finance has proven to be the major constraint facing small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, in Nigeria. Many small businesses are hardly able to survive into the second year of operation, as access to bank loans involves paying high interest rates and collateral requirements, especially with women entrepreneurs. Notwithstanding the existence of several government-backed finance schemes, the financial gap between small businesses and larger firms persists and continue to impede small business development, particularly women micro-businesses. How can the struggling woman be helped to grow her business? What loans are available and how easily accessible are they? Hello and welcome to Break It Down, where we make matters of policies, societal issues, governance, and development easily understood by all. Today we're looking at the challenge of accessing loans for women-owned SMEs. And I have with me a very beautiful, dynamic, intelligent woman. Her name is Christy Adejoh. Christy Adejoh is Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, President of Business and Professional Women Premier Club, BPW Abuja. She is an affiliate of the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, IFBPW. Welcome.
Thank you, Mom.
Quite an accomplished woman.
If you say so. Thank you. We do try.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be talking to you, especially on loans for women. What exactly are loans? Or is it loan?
Well, if we granulate it down to the basics, a loan is money you take from a lending agent, either a bank, any other financial institution, or even individuals, at a consideration for use, particularly in our respect, for enhancing your business fortunes or to start up a business if you're an upstart.
Okay, is it true, from what people say, from what women complain about, that men are more likely to get loans than women in Nigeria?
Because in Nigeria, I would say yes, it is true. It may not be a general picture, but men essentially do the network and can get the loans easily, more easily than the women. And there are a number of factors why women will not do that. Women themselves do not have enough confidence in themselves to access the loans. I would say there are quite a number of loans available, but accessing it may be the critical factor.
Would you say it's because men are in that position where the loans are available?
Well, as a gender activist, I wouldn't want to say that's the reason, because there are organizations that give out loans that are headed by women, and women entrepreneurs generally still do not take leverage of such organizations. If you take a bank like First Bank, the chairman is a woman. So it isn't because the men are at the top. I would say it's more because the women either do not have the necessary information or lack the self-esteem to approach these organizations for the loan, or altogether they're worried about not being able to pay back. On a lighter note, men do not fear that. It's women who do not sleep when they're not able to pay back a loan.
As a woman in that business environment, can you tell us a little bit of the loans that are available?
Yes, quite a number. In fact, I cannot give a comprehensive list, but let me even start with the one that's very much here, the one by the CBN, the agribusiness SMEs loan. That has been around for a while, but in recent times, during the heat of the COVID time, there were loans available for women, which was being, the vanguard of it was by NASA, an arm of the CBN. There are also loans by the respective banks The money banks are there, the microfinance organizations are there, and there are quite a number of other loans by international organizations. So I would say that it is not being able to access these loans, first, like you said, or you agreed with me earlier, as a result of lack of knowledge, one, as a result of also the desire to seek out these loans. Because some of them, if you go, it's as easy as getting on the internet. And there are quite a myriad of loans that women entrepreneurs can get. A lot of men get them in their own businesses. But I would also put it down to maybe the low financial literacy of a lot of women entrepreneurs. The low financial literacy. Yes, we do not know that our little business can access these loans. We think you have to have a big enterprise before you can access the loans.
So obviously the women need more awareness.
Yes.
Who does that? Whose responsibilities?
I'll first put it at our own doorsteps. If you're going into any business or you want to go into any business, the first thing you should do is get as much information about that business. If you have that knowledge, then you can know where to seek out the funds or other resources you need to undertake that business. If, for instance, I want to set up a manufacturing firm, no matter how small, even a light manufacturing firm, I should be able to find out basic information. What skills are needed? What is my source of finance? How can I get better financing? Even things like, where is my market? I think a lot of women tend to just follow their passion and say, oh, I have a passion for doing this, and do not take due cognizance of the nitty-gritty, the knowledge that we need, the other nuances that go into making a business what it is, a proper concern.
Let's look at interest rates. Don't you think the interest rate is what is pushing women away from going for these loans?
Yes, absolutely, I agree with you. It's a major part of the reasons that women don't access some of these loans. I mean, apart from the lack of knowledge, which you said earlier. But the thing also is that a lot of women organizations are already in the advocacy to all the policymakers and the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, at the forefront, to impose a kind of restriction on banks charging such great interest rates. It will be in our interest as women entrepreneurs that they push the interest rates to a single-digit level. That way, women will be more confident to approach lending institutions or lending banks for loans. The way it is now, it's scary, and a lot of them just rush back into their shells and whine away.
Let's look at the CBN for now. I think the CBN is doing a lot in that regard. Zero interest rate on any loan, but then it's still not easily accessible.
It's the reality of our circumstance here. The major issue would be to cut off some of the red tapeism, the bureaucracy that exists in the processing of loans. And that's why we say, can we at least advocate that they should cut down the processing time. If I've met all the requirements, and in a lot of cases the woman meets all the requirements in a period inside of a month. So after a month, I should be able to draw down on the loan. But that's not the case. And really, in some of these instances, it's not really about greasing any palm. It is just sheer a lack of a will to pull it through fast enough for the women. Again, maybe it's because we don't network enough. Maybe it's because we also don't come in a group, in a formidable group, to approach these lending institutions. And that's what some of us have been advocating for. If you belong to a cluster of women, and that cluster can be the face that drives the process.
So, do you have any knowledge of the requirements for getting the CBN loan? Because one person I once spoke with told me that I could just walk in there and request for it as an individual.
Yes, that's what we have been told. But in reality, why it is not so is because a lot of us go there unprepared. If you walk in there and you do not have a company that has been duly registered with the CSA, whether as an enterprise or as a limited liability company, how do you intend to access it? If you do not have your business plan, if you do not have your basic, simple business records, if you're already a going concern, you should be able to keep your financial records, even the simplest of them. But like I said, a lot of women go whimsically to meet these banks and say, oh, I'm here to access the CBN loan.
Is it because most Nigerian business women are largely illiterate and in the unofficial business sector?
Okay.
Like the woman who sells akara, for example. I think those are the people who really like to watch my show. Like the woman who sells rice by the roadside.
Yes.
She wants to increase her business. She wants to improve her financial capacity for that business. What should she do?
I don't think it would be right to say because they are illiterate.
Okay, maybe they are, like you said, they're not financially
the informal sector has different categories, and the illiterate ones are not as a lot of them actually have more financial literacy than some literate women. If you ask me, if you know that there are some basic financial arrangements like the Esusu, the cooperatives, there are lots of village women who know this and they run the governance process in those Esusu arrangements even better than some of us educated women in the city. I think it's sheer laziness, I would say, or procrastination on the part of the businesswoman. A basic thing about business is you're running it as a concern. You must have certain information. You don't have to have been able to read English to know that you need to know how much money you got yesterday, which of it is yours, which belongs to the business. You understand? Keeping your books, business account, personal account. You know, a lot of us don't do that. A very educated woman I know who runs a boutique in this town just comes in and takes money from her sales girl every time she needs money for something personal. And so we try, in some instances, we try to mentor them on what we can do, because there are a lot of business mentors who can tell women what to do. But basically, I always want to say that women should stop being, what's the word now? I keep using the word whimsical. A business is a serious concern. No matter how little. If you're selling akara, you're selling it for a purpose. Part of it is to make capital.
You want to grow it.
Yes, and you want to grow it. You want to upscale. If you started selling and frying and putting in a basket, you now want to have a show glass and display the akara, which means you can make a lot more and store for people to come and buy on demand. Okay? But most women do not carry out such business. But again, a critical factor, which I must add here, is a lot of women who are married need to also seek the support of their spouses. Some spouses, for whatever reason, are not going to allow you to take a loan.
I guess we'll get back to that support of your spouse. We'll be back. It's still on Break It Down. Yeah, it's still on Break It Down, and I'm still with Christy Adejoh of the International Federation of Business and Professional Women. So we're talking about getting permission from your spouse to take a loan, or the spouse not allowing them to take a loan.
Yes, you know, we're in a society where there are a lot of social, cultural constraints on the woman. A woman may not own property in certain societies, even up till now in Nigeria. But beyond that, when a man is kind or gracious enough to allow his wife to do business, the wife still has to take certain decisions based on the husband's consent. If, for instance, he says, you do not have to take a loan for this business, I'll find money for you. Well, it may take forever and he will not find the money, but she cannot go ahead of him to take the loan because he thinks that you are committing his name to that loan. So a lot of women have that, especially at the lower level.
And they might have to pay back.
Oh yes. Because oftentimes he is your collateral, so to speak. Even if you do have to use some other collateral, but essentially because he's your husband, he's seen as being the one who will be held liable if the money is not paid back. So those are considerations. They are social cultural considerations, yes.
Is this why the longevity of business with female businesses do not last long?
I would say it's a part of the reason. It's not the only reason, though. It's a part of the reason.
Yeah, women, like you said, women contribute a lot to the GDP, to the economy of the country.
Yes.
When you go to the borders, from what I learned, you have a lot more women there than men. Yet, why have women remained the poor agenda?
We keep going back to that situation.
Yeah.
Are we taking what we should take, or are we waiting to be given? From a woman's perspective, I think we're waiting for too long to be given. I think we should go out there and take it. We actually have the resources out there. And that's why I said it is not a scarcity of the loans or the facilities. It is us being able to push ourselves to go and take it. Which is why a lot of advocacy is necessary, a lot of literacy is necessary, all the workshops on capacity development for the women is necessary. Anything to push us out of our comfort zone, which is not really a comfort zone, because we're sitting there and complaining, but we can actually go out there.
And like you said, women keep going back. It's not like they're not in business, but they're not moving, they're not improving, because they keep dipping their hands in the till. And why do women dip their hands in the till? Because women are really, actually, in most cases, the ones who provide in homes today.
I agree
when it comes to school fees, she has to.
I agree with you.
When it comes to the children need to have good nutrition, she has to go back to that business capital.
I agree with you, Auntie Moji.
Yeah.
Totally, in that respect, because I was going to say, we were configured to be nurturers. Women have a lot of passion and we have to nurture. But the other thing also is that we do have a lot of capabilities which are largely untapped. We dip into capital to do things for the home, but we can enlarge that capital. We're the people who can be given a little and will get a lot from it. That's how we were created, that's how we were configured. So let's not use that excuse. In some cases, the women don't use this money for the home. They use this to buy apparels, jewelry, all things that may not necessarily add to the GDP.
Value to their business.
Or to the family. But yes, I agree with you. There are lots more women now taking care of whole families. That is why they need to be financially disciplined.
What are women organizations like yours, women financial organizations like yours, doing in this regard? You already talked about capacity building and all of that. Can you give us an insight into exactly what you're doing and where women can go to and how they can even access you?
Oh yes, the groups are doing a lot. There are all sorts. There are the small ones at our level. There are the national coalitions. For instance, there is the Association of Nigerian Business Women's Network, AMBIN. Okay. There is the NAWOG. NAWOG is the NAXIMA, is the women business arm of NAXIMA. There are so many groups like that. And what they do is advocacy, organizing workshops, going into whole organizations, even sometimes advancing loans, rolling funds. The group I belong to, the Business and Professional Women, we've adopted groups of women in semi-urban areas, especially around the FCT and all over Nigeria in different environments. And we try to create that literacy for them, financial literacy. And like I said, you don't have to speak English to understand how to run a business. And in some instances, we've been able to help them form themselves into a cooperative, because cooperatives are also veritable ways of being able to access loans on a bigger scale.
Okay.
They will take due leverage of the economy of scale. If you come in a group, you'll be able to get a bigger chunk of money, which can be further divided amongst yourselves. And that cooperative, even going by the CBN rules, the cooperative can be the collateral for some of these loans. Do you understand? Because they're a registered entity.
Okay.
And so this information are the things we also go out and disseminate to the women out there.
How do you disseminate?
We go into localities.
You go to their localities,
we go
to
into
the markets, and all of
the
that.
markets, yes. And like I said, we adopt groups of women in different settings like that.
Do you do evaluation and follow-up?
Oh yes, we do a lot of monitoring and evaluation, because that's the way we'll know where the success rate is, or what the success rate is. And talking about the success rate, I think one of the reasons that lending institutions may be reluctant to deal with women entrepreneurs is because usually the success rates for women loanees who have paid back is never publicized.
Okay.
Because if you publish it, then you will know that in real terms, intrinsically, women pay back their loans more than the men. Yes.
And yet the
studies have shown that.
Yes. And yet the institutions are not giving them loans.
That's because the knowledge is not, the information is not put out there.
Is it knowledge, or is it because
the information
we live in
is
a
not put out there?
patriarchal society?
Well, yes, sociologically we can put it down to that.
Yeah. So how can you, somebody out there now is watching and wants to reach your organization, please give us step by step.
Oh, well, the women's group that I belong to, and essentially I belong to quite a number, but the one that you have introduced me here with is the Business and Professional Women, Abuja. It's an arm of Business and Professional Women Nigeria. We have a secretariat at number 27 Tunis Street, which is in Zone 4, Wuse, Abuja. Our national secretariat for BPW Nigeria is there. Number 27 Tunis Street. And Tunis Street is in Wuse Zone 6. There are information everywhere about how to join us, but it's simple. Just attend our meetings and, determine whether you like what we do, what we're about, and we also look at whether you are serious enough to belong to us. But we do not only reflect the economic or business aspect of women. There are other aspects, education, the health, the social development generally of the women folk. Those are major concerns. And by the way, we have a consultative status with the United Nations. So every year, we're part of the process of arranging the Commission for the Status of Women.
Let's look at policies. What would you advise government to do more to help women in getting loans, easy access to loans?
We should talk about the interest rates. The interest rates, as much as is possible, we should try and bring it down to single digits levels. That scares a lot of women. Even the women who are bold enough to approach the lending institutions, they are often faced off by the high rates, the high interest rates on these loans. Again, like I mentioned briefly, let people know that this woman took a loan and she's paid back. If government has real political will towards enthroning women entrepreneurship, they will do that. They would encourage the women, they would help organize or help people organize workshops where we can, upgrade the financial literacy of women. There's not enough of that going on. There is definitely not enough. Government must take it as a deliberate policy to encourage the training of women. And even women who already are in business, there should be capacity enhancement projects on an ongoing basis, even done by the lending institutions themselves, by the banks themselves. I think it's in their own interest to be able to have a better enlightened woman come to ask a loan in the bank because you have committed to educating her.
I like that. The banks, I hope they're listening.
Some of them are doing so, really, to be fair to them. Some
the
of them
last
are.
one I attended, I was not impressed at all. So thank you very much for being on the show. We've been thoroughly educated, and I think women already, by listening to you, know where to go to, where to come to you, and everybody who can help. Thanks for watching the show. We've been with Christy Adejoh. Christy Adejoh is the president of Business and Professional Women Premier Club, Abuja. We'll be back same time next week. This is Break It Down.